We have some flyers on that as well. This next speaker, I'll tell you, I'm glad he's here this year because he's a very informed attorney regarding the Second Amendment. He's a former Marine. He's a former candidate for the U.S. Senate. He's a well-known libertarian lawyer, and he's an attorney for Freedom Law Firm here in Arizona. And with that, I'd like to bring Marc Victor to the stage. Please give him a welcome.
Well, it's a real honor to be here today. Let me get this set up for a short guy. And the Second Amendment is obviously very important. Some say it safeguards all the other amendments, and there may be something to that for sure. And sometimes it can be difficult to come up with something controversial to say depending on the group, but I have yet to give a speech where I have not left some controversy on the table, so hopefully today won't be any different. I will try my best to stir some controversy even in this group. First, I want to start with this issue about the horrible tragedy that occurred in Florida. And we've had lots of these tragedies, and we'll probably have lots more. I think we need to make peace with a concept here that maybe we can try to sell our fellow brothers and sisters on, which is really simple. We can't stop every tragedy. We just can't. It's not reasonable to think that somehow we can pass a law, we can tinker or change something, and we'll be able to control the conduct of every single human being, and we'll never have a tragedy. That's just not realistic. This kid, the murderer, mass murderer we could call him, they got their background check, right? There was a background check in this case, and it wasn't effective because there was nothing to see during the background check. There was no finding of a mental health problem. So what would you want? I mean, that's just the nature of trying to predict human beings. And I think that the right response to this situation is obviously with sadness and regret. And I know everybody here feels that. This is a horrendous tragedy. But we got to be realistic about we can't prevent everything, just like the shooter, the murderer in Las Vegas. We're not going to prevent stuff like that as hard as we would like to try. There is the issue of the FBI dropping the ball. And we could, as people who generally aren't pro-government, right, we could make a big issue out of this and say, look, the FBI got a good tip from a citizen, from many citizens. They knew this guy was a problem. They knew there was a mental health issue. Why didn't they take action? And in some regards, this is legit. But in others, can we really expect the government, and do we really want the government to actually have the resources and the ability to run down every single tip? It's really too much to ask, even of the government, to do these kinds of things. I just think we got to be realistic. Let me try to simplify the gun issue for everybody. This is how I see the gun issue. It's really not complex. I think if you're competent and you're peaceful, you should be left the hell alone. I mean, why is this so complicated? I don't understand why we're not just making this case. If you're competent and you're peaceful, you should be left alone. We got to break it down a little bit, right? What does it mean to be competent? To me, there are two parts to this. Part number one, you got to be competent mentally. If you have mental health issues such that you're really, truly not competent, I think most of us would say, yeah, probably you shouldn't have a firearm. Keeping in mind our ability to keep such person from getting a firearm is very limited, right? There's 330 million firearms just in our country. It's not truly realistic to think that we're going to keep such non-competent people from getting firearms. The other concept is you have to be competent with the particular weapon that you have. This isn't unreasonable, right? I mean, the competency level to have a .22 handgun may be very different and is very different from the competency level needed to have, let's just say, an automatic 50 caliber belt-fed weapon. I'm not saying you can't have such a weapon, but maybe you should be competent with such a weapon. What does that mean? To me, that means you know how to use the thing, you know how to safely store the thing, and you know how to maintain the thing. To me, that's all part of competence. If somebody has such competence and they're peaceful, they should be left alone with whatever particular weapon they have. Why do I take this position? And by the way, what do I mean by peaceful? It means you're not an initiator of force, right? This should be pretty simple. Why do I take this position? I take this position for a simple reason that I think a lot of people here get, but most of our fellow Americans have totally forgotten. And that's why we're here today. It's a really simple concept. The government, they're not our masters. They're our agents. They work for us. We don't work for them. What does this mean? This means something. You guys cheer and you clap, but it means something to say that. What does it mean when we say the government is our agent? We give them rights to do things. They don't exist independent of our agreement to give them rights. So they can't do anything that I can't give them the right to do. How do they acquire a right to do something that we can't give them? And I don't have any right to take a firearm or a weapon away from somebody who's peaceful and competent. It's really just that simple. The government doesn't get to do things that we can't delegate, and we don't have such a right to delegate. I don't have any right to take a weapon from a person who's peaceful and competent. It's just that simple. Unless, of course, they're a threat to me. They're not peaceful and competent. It's really simple. I don't know why this is getting so complicated. But why is this the case? This is what's really important, and it's what I want to talk to you about today. I have a right to be left alone. That's what I see. Who agrees with me? If I'm peaceful and competent, do I have a right to be left the hell alone?
Amen.
I think so. And this doesn't apply to just guns. I want to challenge you guys a little bit. And I want to push you guys a little bit. Because I don't just speak to gun groups. I speak to a lot of gun groups. I'm at the Crossroads Gun Show almost every Phoenix show. Saturday around 11 o'clock, I give a 2 to 3 hour presentation about guns. I've been talking about guns for 24 years. I've been representing people in serious felony cases about guns. This isn't about guns. This is about freedom. If you're just a one-issue gun person, you are missing the big issue. Freedom is the issue. Guns is but one sub-issue. If you have a right to be left alone, you have a right to be left alone with your firearm so long as you're peaceful and competent. But don't you also have the right to be left alone if you're smoking a joint in your backyard and you're not bothering anybody and you're a peaceful, competent adult? To me, this is exactly the same issue. And if you're not understanding that, you're not connecting the dots about being left alone. The issue isn't guns. I might hate guns. Who cares if I like or hate guns? The only issue is, do I respect your right, if you're peaceful and competent, to have a gun, to smoke a joint, to have sex with whoever the heck you want to have sex with, to keep your damn money? These are all the same question. They're all freedom issues. What I am describing is the libertarian philosophy. It's the libertarians, and only the libertarians, who get this stuff. They understand this stuff. That's why we're making no progress with the Repubs and the Dems, because they all feel the ability to use the government to intrude on your rights. Yes, they have different flavors of how they intrude. But are we willing to put up with this? I don't think we should be. I think we should be pushing for freedom in all areas. This country was founded on libertarian principles. That's what our founders were talking about. They were talking about self-ownership. I own me. You own you. Everything flows from that. And if we don't get to a point as gun owners, as Americans, as humans even, where we respect the rights of other competent, sovereign human beings to do whatever the hell they want to do with their body, their money, their property, and their time, then we're part of the problem. You can be part of the problem and still like guns if you're not seeing the big picture. So I say the same things to you that I say when I talk to the pot smoker crowd. Sure, they want to hear weed should be legal. They don't want to hear guns. People should have a right to have guns. They think, why are you talking to me about this, Mark? And I say to the marijuana crowd all the time, what you guys are fighting for is exactly the same thing that the gun crowd is fighting for. You guys just don't see that's the same argument. We need to join forces with other human beings who may have a completely different position, so long as they hold one position that's the same as the freedom position, which is, look, I don't get to tell you how to run your life. How I run my life's irrelevant. That I don't get to tell you how to run your life is the important issue. And that's really the point I wanted to make today. Our country was founded on libertarian principles. If you like what our country was founded upon, if you like the arguments of our founders, that's what they were talking about, self-ownership. Self-ownership doesn't mean the right to do whatever the government says you can do. It's the right to do whatever you want to do, so long as you are not affecting another person. That's where the line ought to be drawn. That's what made our country great. It's the concept of freedom that make our country great. Not just that we have a Second Amendment. It's that, and by the way, the Second Amendment is just written down. It's just a matter of what 9 justices interpret. The Heller case could have gone the other way, right? It easily could have gone, and if it had gone the other way, we would have just walked away and said, oh well, I guess the Supreme Court has decided the Second Amendment does not protect an individual's right to keep and bear arms. It only protects what the liberals said, the government's right to have a national defense or some bullshit like that. Then we're out of luck. Our argument doesn't depend on the Second Amendment. Damn it, we're Americans. We should be fighting for freedom, and not just the freedoms that we like to enjoy. The freedoms that all Americans like to enjoy, whatever they are, and especially in a case where we don't like to use that freedom. That to me, and this is the thought I'm going to leave you with, that to me makes you the big boy or big girl of freedom. Can you support the rights of other competent adults to peacefully do things that you do not do? Peaceful things that you don't approve of, that you think are unhealthy, unwarranted, immoral, whatever. If they're peaceful, we can speak against them and try to talk our fellow Americans out of it. But if we're going to have freedom, we have to respect the rights of other competent and peaceful human beings to also do things with their property that we don't like. And if you're not there, I humbly submit to you, you're part of the problem. Thank you very much for your attention. And I will stay around after my good friend Sheriff Mac speaks, because I'm told there might be an opportunity for questions. Thank you very much.